Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today we have Becky Clark, our day program manager, who is going to present on a typical day in the day program. So lots of people always have questions about what does my person do when they're at the day program. So Becky's going to fill us in on what a typical day looks like, as well as talking about what overnight respite looks like when people come and stay overnight. So I'll turn it over to you, Becky.
Okay, awesome. Welcome everyone. I'm so happy to be able to present this information because it's definitely our number one question asked. What does my person do all day? What does respite look like? So this is a great way to share the information and also have it available on a recording so that people later when they ask, we can share it. So I always like to give this little tip. If you're ever watching this, so if you're watching this as a recording, and you don't really have an hour to sit and listen to me, you could always go to your settings. It looks like a little gear in your YouTube, and you can change the speed. So you could speed this up a little bit, and you can slow it down where it feels like a part that you want to slow down and really listen to me. So you can do that with anything in YouTube. So that's just my little tip of the day. Okay, so I'm going to share my
Before you get
screen.
started too, I forgot to mention, Becky, that if you have questions, if you can type your questions into the Q&A button. So at the bottom of your screen, if you move your mouse, there'll be a Q&A that you can click on and you can type your questions in there. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go through the questions and Becky will answer them for you. All right, go ahead.
Definitely. Okay, so I am going to share my screen and I have a PowerPoint presentation and lots of photos to share with everyone. So you can see that okay, Tara?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is such a big topic and there's a lot to talk about and there's a lot of layers and a lot of transitions and processes that happen. So I hope that I've broken it down in a way that sort of makes sense and answers the questions and the wonderings that you have. But like Tara said, if you have questions, just put them in the Q&A. It's really, really challenging to provide details of an individual's specific day. We'll talk about it. Every day has kind of a similar flow and similar types of activities, but it all depends the staff who's here, different things. So anyway, these are all the things we're going to go through. So just kind of differentiating McCormick Dementia Services Day Program from McCormick Home and why that's sort of important to keep in mind, especially when we're talking about respite stays. Just a couple of reminders about our environment that you may not really be aware of. And then the meat and potatoes of the topic today, typical day in the day program, looking at the activities, the physical space, how personal support, care, bathing, meals, all of that happens in a person's day here. And then that transition to overnight respite. So where are they actually staying, how the space is used, all of those timelines. And then a new communication tool that we're going to trial for our overnight respite. And then of course, time for questions after. So I just think it's sometimes good to remind people. I know that everyone refers to us as the McCormick Home Day Program. So just for clarification, the McCormick Home is the long-term care side, which is just at the other entrance. So that's the 160-bed long-term care side. We do receive all of our meals through the long-term care home's kitchen. So they have a cook and dietary staff, and we'll talk more about the menu and the meals later. But just to know, that's where all of our meals and snacks come from. It's from the long-term care side. And we also are able to access the long-term care laundry services. So all of our towels, bed linens, the bulky things, they get put through the industrial washing system on the long-term care side. So again, we are one big organization and we can share some of those services. All of our staff work specifically in the day program. We do have some staff in some what we call shared lines, or they'll work on both nursing home and long-term and day program. But a lot of our staff is specific to the day program, including our team of managers. So day program has its own team of managers. Long-term care has their own team. And again, we have some shared support positions too. And just to know, residents of the home, they don't access day program space for any purpose. And kind of on the flip side, our day program clients don't enter into the long-term care side to use any of their space either. So we don't share programming together. Our respite space is separate. So just hopefully that's good information to know that we actually don't share physical space in any way. The only time our clients will cross over into the long-term care home space is to use the hair salon, which we're currently looking for a new service provider in the hair salon. But otherwise, yeah, we don't really cross over. So day program specifically is adult day program, and it's for people living in the community with a dementia diagnosis. We like to refer to it as a club because we want people to feel like there's a place where they belong and everyone wants to join a club rather than maybe joining a day program. So, so that's just a little differentiation between what is the home and what is day program. So these photos here to show the two different entrances. Okay, so just moving. Also to know, our day program is considered a secure environment. So this means that all of our entrances and exits are locked. So we do actually display the code at the front door and the keypad there. And it is the same code to get into the other spaces, but we really ask visitors, caregivers, not to code in beyond the front lobby because there's risks for like client safety, confidentiality, those sorts of things. So if you ever can't, there's nobody at the front desk, there's actually an intercom button here. The picture's not great, but there's a little buzzer button there, and that goes to the nursing phone. So if you're here after hours and hollering and nobody's answering, just buzz the intercom, and that will go directly to the phone. Yeah, so when we look at the physical space, just know that our exits to the outdoors, to our garden spaces, are coded with a lock. So we do have to have staff unlock those doors to access that space. And then when we look at our garden area, it is fully fenced. It is totally separate from the long-term care garden space. So the garden area is our secure space as well. Client safety is obviously very important to us. So we actually don't allow clients outdoors alone. So, even if they wanted to go out and do some gardening on their own, water the plants or, take pictures of the sunrise, we're actually not able to allow them to go outside alone right now. We're looking at how we may change things in the future with monitoring and different things, but right now that's one of our policies. Okay, so just other little fun facts. This is we're going to get into the flow of the day here. So a typical weekday, we actually start with a morning huddle. So our staff gather, this is in our big room called Ivy, at 9:05 every weekday morning, and we just all get on the same page, provide some updates on client and caregiver situations, who's absent, if someone's had a fall, or we need to, obtain a urine sample or different things like that. So this just helps us all get on the same page and ready for the day. And then we can open the doors and welcome all of the people in. So if you're ever waiting out front, we're just in here doing our huddle. Okay, here we go. So into the typical day in the day program. So I always say it's the number one question asked: what does my person do in the program? And we always say, what happens at the club stays at the club. Like, it's so hard for us to share exactly and individually what did your person do? I'll give you a few hints, but there's all of these factors that go into what might have been their experience. So when we think of our interdisciplinary team, so from the recreation perspective, what program room are they in? Were they in Ivy, Parkview, or Hampton? Because the programming and the social environment and the support is different in those 3 rooms. What were the staff working in those rooms? So is it a staff member that can play piano, or is it someone who's really great with horticulture? So that definitely influences the programs that are offered, as well as the client skills, the client interest, the weather, so many things. Then, of course, the time of the day. So are they here for the day? Do they also stay extended hours? Is it after dinner? Is it overnight? So that's another factor. And then the extras. So I would say on average about 2 days a week, we have live musical entertainment. We have the opportunity to go out in the garden during the nicer weather. We may have pet visitors coming in, whether those are paid visitors or volunteers. And then other visitors with special skills. So yesterday, we had the Eldon House group come in to the Ivy room. So there's all of that happening from more of a recreation perspective. And then from nursing, it's, what was the assistance provided, whether it was for personal care, more mealtime support, administering medication, bathing. And then sometimes clients require a little bit of emotional support from social work. So all of that could happen in a person's day. Okay, so taking the client journey now. So the next kind of section of the presentation is really based on day program. So when we talk about day program, I'm thinking about the bulk of the clients being here, the 9:30 arrival to the 3 o'clock pickup time. So that's what we would call a day program. So here we have clients arriving at 9:30. They could be coming by family drop off or using the Boys and Girls Club transportation. So it's really important for people to know that the clients who are staying overnight respite, they're arriving at the exact same time as all of the other clients that are here for the day. So that's really helpful because everybody's arriving and sort of launching into, the social rec sort of atmosphere at the same time, and not feeling like it's a different stay or experience. Our drop-off time is definitely flexible for people. You have an appointment or, can't get out of bed, or, your service provider came late, whatever it is, you can come anytime, but most of our people are arriving about 9:30. And just if this sort of stuff interests you, our contract with the Boys and Girls Club is it's pretty big. So we have 8 buses that service our clients each weekday, and everything is very scheduled and organized here. So we know exactly which clients are coming on which day, if they're coming by family or by bus, and then each of those buses actually has a letter. So we know on bus A, all of the clients that are scheduled to arrive and go home by their bus letter. And you'll see that in our coat room process too. And about 60% of our clients right now use the bus. And we do have the Boys and Girls Club that have the wheelchair accessible bus. So clients using a wheelchair can ride up the lift. We have our own policy that clients who use walkers cannot stand on the lift and ride up with their walker. They have to be seated in a wheelchair to use the lift. Other programs have a different policy, but that's our own policy just for safety. So that's the busing process. So that's people starting to arrive. So as they come through the front door, this is Natalie. So she's our administrative assistant. So she's in this window here, and she gets to greet everybody as they come in and Some people will stop to say hello or, give her a little candy or something. So they'll journey through and be greeted by Natalie. And I have to say, as I was going to bed last night thinking about you all in this presentation, I just thought, like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have like an aerial view of the program, slice the roof off, and just watch like the movement of clients and staff and visitors all day long. Like, it's just like this constant flow of things happening, and it's very timed and it's very strategic, and everybody has specific roles at specific times. So at all of these kind of processes, you'll see staff involved, of course, right? So receiving people at 9:30 off the bus and guiding people in and all of these things. So anyway, I'm probably going to overshare details just because there's so much to talk about. So here we go. So this is Natalie's little window over to the left, that bottom left-hand picture. So this is our front foyer, the bottom left side. So as clients enter into the day program, this is like the first space they see. All the clients who are arriving by family actually have a hanger here with their name on a tag and then a basket. So clients can take their hanger, or staff will help them take their hanger with their name, hang up all their things, put their belongings, whether it's hat and mitts, into that little basket, and then they'll transition through the coat room doors that are straight ahead. These are all the people coming by family. And then all of the clients that are coming by bus, their items are stored in the coat room. So the bottom right-hand picture here is our coat room. And I've got another picture to show that. So when, excuse me, all of our 50-ish people are here for the day, this is kind of what the coat room looks like. And again, each bus has a letter. So in the coat room, each section here, you can't really see the label, but there's a bus letter. So all of the clients on bus A, their items are stored together, bus B, C, and so on. And then on the end wall there's a computer mounted on the wall. And we actually have staff here. They're recording the transportation attendants, but also recording in the system all of the belongings that the client brought this day. So their hat, coat, walker, wheelchair, bag, medication, it's all recorded during this process. So if you're waiting in the parking line thinking, oh my gosh, what is taking so long for people to come in? It's all of these processes to make sure that clients don't feel rushed, that their belongings are going to be stored properly, that their needs are being met, and, helping them out of a wheelchair to use their walker, and those sorts of things. So that's what might take a while. Okay, so as we go through the coat room, so we're just right straight ahead. Once we open the coat room door, this is the view. So now we are in what we would call client space. And this big room is what we call the atrium. So all of our program rooms are off of the atrium. And this atrium is a very flexible use space for us. So as clients arrive in the morning, our staff are here to escort them to the program room that they're assigned to for the day. So just like clients are assigned to a bus, they're assigned to a program room, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So staff will direct clients to the program room that they're scheduled to. Some clients know this and they know the direction to go, but we have the Ivy room just to the immediate right, and then Parkview is down around the corner. The Hampton room is over in the back left there, and then we'll have another view that shows more of the other spaces. So We'll talk a little bit more about the atrium, but this is a flexible space, like I said, for programming, for clients that need to get up and walk during the day, especially for clients who are in Parkview or Hampton and have that need to move and wander a little bit. If the program room is maybe too stimulating or they just need a change, they can come out to this space too. And this is where our staff are overnight too for monitoring. So this is still the atrium, just a different angle. So on the upper left picture here, we have the nursing office by day. So there's windows here that allow for the nurse to be in this space with the med cart and the computer doing a few task things, but they also have a good view of the atrium to keep an eye on clients who may be wandering there or whatever may be happening out there. This nursing office becomes one of our overnight respite rooms in the evening, which we'll talk more about. In this corner here beside the bookshelf is our spa, which we have pictures of. So that's our fancy tub room, which we'll talk about. And then this is the Hampton room on the back wall. And then the bottom right picture here, that's just another view of the atrium. These recliners here are typically where in the evening, the clients staying overnight respite will come here like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, put their feet up, watch a movie, have some snacks with the nursing staff. So that's kind of how that space is used. Okay. So we're going to talk about program rooms. So like I mentioned, there's 3 separate program rooms. So we call them Ivy, Parkview, and Hampton. All of them are fully equipped with TVs, laptops, all kinds of technology. They have pianos and comfy recliner chairs. And then of course the regular tables and chairs. And all of our clients are assigned to a program room based on staff assessment. And that assessment is ongoing. So as clients' needs change or things progress, client or staff will say, I think it's time to move Tara from the Ivy room to the Parkview room, and they'll facilitate that change. We don't normally notify caregivers when this type of room change happens. Sometimes it just makes caregivers feel like there's a drastic change or there's a concern. It might not always be specifically to your person's needs, but just overall the room, isn't a good fit or the best fit. So we want to really ensure that the clients are having the best programming experience for where they're at, and that all of their needs are really going to be met and supported. So that's why we would transition people through the program rooms. So there's so much information, right? But there's in each program room, so all of their activities happen in that program room, and that's also where their lunch is served. So if you're in the Parkview room, you're going to have all of your activities in there, and you're also going to have your lunch in there. Same for Hampton, same for Ivy. Yeah, and the staffing differs depending on the program room and definitely the time of day. We'll talk a bit about that as we go through each program room. Okay, so this is Ivy. Obviously, I took these pictures during the Christmas season with all the decorations. So this is when you enter that back door of Ivy once you've come through the coat room. So this is the view from the back door, and all the windows along the side. That is a view of Oxford Street West, and then Keynes Road in the front window. So sometimes we have deer run across the lawn. We had fox in the summer a couple of times. We've had kittens, all sorts of wildlife. So this is definitely a great view, lots of natural light. Sometimes it can get hot in the summer just because of, all of the sun coming through. But all of these windows have motorized blinds that we can raise or lower. Oftentimes during busing, we'll lower the blinds at the front window because that's the view of our parking lot. And clients seeing buses arrive and families lined up can be a little bit, unsettling, and they'll think, oh, I better get out there and catch my bus. But of course, we have a whole process for that. So just kind of strategies we have in our environment to lessen triggers and anxiety. So Ivy's our largest programming room. So the clients in this room typically really are at I want to say, higher social, physical, cognitive level. So they can really tolerate large group activities, like all participating sort of in one group together. It can be very noisy in this room. The sound can bounce around a lot. So people with significant hearing impairment, this can be a really challenging space to hear well in. There's washrooms kind of on the back wall here, and there's garden exit along the side wall as well. And the front right corner of this room is where our servery is for this room. So there's steam tables, dishwasher, coffee, juice machine, all of this sort of stuff. So this is where the meals would get served from. So in this room, we typically have about 25 clients each weekday. And like I said, these clients are usually fairly independent with their mobility and with their personal care needs. So this can be a pretty happening space. And then in this room right now, this is where we have most of our live musical entertainment scheduled in the afternoon. So this front area is a pretty big dance floor. Can we try to get people up and moving? So this is the Ivy space. So again, this is all just kind of typical, like making, assumptions that every day is the same, which is definitely not. But as clients arrive in all of the program rooms, there's a name tag set up on the table. So we have a bit of a seating plan. Again, staff will guide clients to their name tag, help them get seated. And then there's activities on the table sort of waiting for them. Because it can take up to half an hour for everyone to arrive. So some independent activities there. If, they're not socializing and everything through that arrival time. So we'll spend a little bit of time in the morning having a coffee social. So we'll serve coffee, tea, cookies, work on some of those table things. And then once everyone's finished their coffee, transition to more of a large group program. So I would say pretty well daily, they would do a large group seated exercise program using hand weights and exercise balls and be led through that kind of program. And then again, depending on staff and client skills and abilities and interests, do some cognitive games, active games. There's a long list of what those things could be. And then, like I said, in the afternoon, this is where music and dancing might take place. Some of those theme programs that I mentioned, and we'll have a few photos there. And again, like always, depending on staff resources and additional supports like volunteers, there may be a little group in this group that gets pulled off to the side to do a baking project, and they'll make the snack for the afternoon, or Julie was doing the greenery arrangements for Christmas. Like that was a little group that was set up inside of this Ivy room. So yeah, so here are some photos from some of the things that may happen in Ivy. So like wearing thong bikinis for fun, making the treats, some of the garden herbs, all of these types of activities would be supported by either rec staff, students, or volunteers. So often clients in Ivy can follow a few steps, or programs will be facilitated in a way that the staff can kind of provide some step-by-step instructions. So like first we're going to take the jar and add the herbs. Next, let's add some vinegar and kind of go through things that way. Yeah. Otherwise, it's really important that we try to find ways that clients can be involved in facilitating programs too, have a purpose, have a role. So whether it's being the scorekeeper, recording scores on a whiteboard, tallying the scores, physically gathering the golf balls or the bocce balls or whatever it is. Again, it really depends on the individual person and if they like that kind of thing. So everybody's experience is very unique. So these are just some of the photos from the Ivy room. So we'll talk about it a lot, but relationship-centered care is how we really kind of function here in the whole McCormick Care Group. So Vanessa was getting married this past summer, so we made that into a lot of programs. So we want to be able to celebrate, life milestones in meaningful ways with staff and clients. So we had a bridal shower program for Vanessa. Some of the staff, we brought in our wedding dresses and we, had clients guess, whose dress is who, which is just a really special way for clients to be able to share in the excitement, but also reminisce about, attending weddings or their own wedding day. And, so of course we had cake and gave Vanessa a gift just like you would at a shower. And games, bridal bingo and all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah, honestly, you just never know what's going on here. Any questions so far, Tara? No? Okay. I hope everybody's comfortable and plans to be here for a while. Okay, so this is just the most beautiful picture of part of our garden space. So this obviously is a just great sunny summer day. So this is a lot of our Ivy group outside on this day. In the back there is a pergola, so obviously there's vines growing on that, so it's a great spot for shade. And then some extra umbrellas for more shade. We provide hats and sunscreen, and some clients just want to get a little vitamin D, so they refuse all of that. But the garden is an amazing space that we're very fortunate to have. There's a lot of different programming areas there, lounge areas. There's the garden shed. Clients can fill the bird feeders. There's a water fountain, all kinds of things. So we are always chomping at the bit to get outside. Again, the difficult thing is, what if only one client in your group wants to go outside? If you have volunteer or students that can support them outside, that's great. But sometimes we have to make compromises and kind of go with what the majority wants, which isn't always favored. So here's just a few more pictures of outside in the garden. So we love when we can take the musical entertainment outside because it just means more of our clients can participate in that program for the day. Of course, pet visits, and we had the alpacas here this summer, which was really interesting. Staff visiting when they're on mat leave, and you just never know. So the garden space is pretty amazing. Okay, so moving on to our next program room. So this is what we call Park View. So I should back up a little bit. In the Ivy room with the 25 clients, there's always 2 recreation staff. I'm just going to skip back there quickly. 2 recreation staff scheduled to that room to provide programming. And then there'll be a PSW that's available for any washroom assistants to serve meals. And then the RPN is always just buzzing around, providing medications or checking vitals, whatever is needed. So just so you kind of have a sense of the staff support in each room. Okay, So in Parkview, this is a smaller room, and the windows in this room are along the back of our space, and they have a great view of our garden area. So in this space, we always have one recreation staff and often an assistant, ideally. So one recreation staff and then a PSW again to assist with personal care, meals, and transfers, helping into a recliner chair, those sorts of things. Typically, we have about 14 people in this space, and we always have an average because of our respite users. Again, in this space, there's a variety of things that may happen, a lot of large group things, but then a few more smaller group things. So kind of breaking off into little groups. In this room, there are more clients with mobility concerns or needs, more people who need assistance with the washroom. And then the programming that's offered in this space is just modified in a way that really supports their abilities. So again, I think it's on the next slide. We'll go through some of those things that they do. And at the end of the Parkview hallway, there's access to the garden area. So all of our program rooms have pretty quick, easy access to get outside. So again, typical Parkview day, as clients arrive, they're directed to their program room. There'll be activities on the table. They'll have coffee, tea, and cookies. And then as people finish that, transition to whether it's like another group exercise class, or whatever other groups, if they're gonna break up and do a baking group and a more woodworking group or something like that. I will say that most weekdays, Ivy and Parkview, like it's a pretty much guarantee that there'll be an exercise component. We really want to promote the movement and that as best we can. So again, these folks may use hand weights or more just the exercise balls, but those are available for the exercise program. And again, always like a active game, cognitive puzzle sort of component. So, whether it's on our whiteboard, like little word games, like a hangman, even just verbally, like finishing the phrase, like birds of a feather flock together, like those sorts of things. And just like Ivy, getting outside whenever possible. So lots of people love the Parkview room because of the great view, and the glass on the windows is coated so we can see out, but people can't see in. So we can watch the birds and the bunnies and all of that stuff running around. So these are just some samples of some activities that may happen with like the Parkview type group. So the upper left here is like a Dutch shuffleboard activity. Jewelry making, ball pong is pretty popular. Always trying to celebrate clients' birthdays if they celebrate their birthdays. Horticulture, planting seeds, sky's the limit kind of. Okay, so now we are moving on to the Hampton room. So we're journeying through the room in a bit of a progression. So the Hampton room, again, floor to ceiling windows, lots of natural light, and their view is of the long-term care home garden. So another great view. There's bird feeders outside the windows so they can watch birds and bunnies and squirrels and all of that. In this room, again, we have an average of about 14 clients each weekday. But this environment is very different than the other program rooms. So this is very much a flexible programming type environment, and I would call it very unstructured. So whereas Ivy is like they kind of have an agenda, we're going to do exercises, then bocce ball, then Sudoku. And Hampton, it's like we're going to see who needs what today and what those sorts of things are, and just more individual needs. I just need a quick drink. So it's hard to see in the pictures, but again, as clients come in at 9:30, there'll already be activities on the table and staff guiding them to a seat, and really prompting them to engage in these sorts of things, or engage in conversation or sing to music, whatever it may be. Um, the Hampton environment is much more a sensory type environment, so the music would be much more calming than maybe like a 50s, 60s type music in Ivy. So more calming music. We may even turn out some of the lights to dim the lights a little bit. The activities are a lot of what we would call like Montessori style, more helping tasks, more familiar household tasks. So this room is really great for clients who are no longer really following directions, following along in a group environment, and just need that flexibility to get up and move, or go on to the next thing, or look through the bookshelf, or whatever it may be. So we do have 2 recreation staff in the Hampton room, even though there's usually similar numbers in Parkview and Hampton. The Hampton client needs are quite different. I hesitate to say that because Parkview needs are changing too. But we sometimes need to provide a little bit more one-to-one support to clients at times in these spaces. So that allows for one staff member to support maybe higher needs briefly, while the other staff member can, keep facilitating little individual things in these groups. So clients in this space, they require much more assistance with their mobility, assistance in the washroom, and with meals. So their needs can be met with the staff complement in this space. Again, PSW to support all of those needs, RPNs to do medication and help at mealtime. Yeah, so this is the Hampton space. So again, looking at some of the activities that may be in the Hampton space. So the middle picture here, these are all tape measures. So helping us tidy up that mess. Or at the right here, matching the baby socks, a lot of folding laundry, matching socks, wiping tables, sweeping up the floor, those sorts of really familiar tasks. Helping tasks help us have a sense of purpose, and that makes us feel really good too. I had mentioned the atrium kind of in the beginning of our journey here. Clients from Hampton and Parkview sometimes will do programming together in the atrium. So there may be a few clients from each group that would do well following a little exercise program or a different game. So so this gentleman is out in the atrium, kind of doing a bit of an exercise program. Okay, a few more. So like large piece jigsaw puzzles, painting a lot of our banners for our different theme decorations, really hands-on types of tasks. Okay, moving along. So as I mentioned with the beginning of the presentation, all of our meals are prepared by the home, in the kitchen in the home. Although with some of our programming, we will do food-based programs too. So we have clients here husking corn in season, and then just having that as a special treat. So sometimes there will be meal type programming. Like I mentioned, each program room has their own steam table, fridge, stove, all of that sort of stuff. So all of their meals are served in their own program rooms. A lot of people have questions about the meals, the menus. So we do have the lunch menu that's posted on our website. So if you go to Care Partners Corner, right on that main page, there's a lunch menu. The lunch menu is on a 4-week rotation. So, if this is week 3, you can look on Wednesday that we were having, I don't know, wieners and beans and, a dinner roll. That same meal is going to happen in 4 weeks. So we do have a seasonal calendar or seasonal menu. So spring and summer and then fall and winter, but those menus are on a 4-week rotation. So if it feels like, oh my gosh, every time my person comes to the club, we're having, hot dogs, it's because the hot dogs is like on the 4-week rotation. So, with access to the long-term care kitchen, it means that we can provide all the modified textures that we need. The most challenging part we're experiencing right now is more of the allergies and restrictions. So gluten-free, celiac, those are kind of challenging our kitchen a little bit, which is okay. So I guess the good thing about the day program is with the staff levels that we have, our interdisciplinary team, and access to the different supports, we can support people as they progress through their different situations. So that's a little bit about meals. We did have some clients contribute to the menu planning. So meeting with our dietary staff in the home, would you rather have wieners and beans or lasagna, and talking about their preferences. So we try to engage them in a little bit of that menu planning when we can. So how does personal care and support happen in the program? So we do have an RPN and PSW scheduled 24/7. So there's always a nurse and a PSW here. All of our staff wear walkie-talkies with earpieces. So as rec are providing programming and they see someone needs to use the washroom or, whatever it is, they can just discreetly call for support for that person. And then the nursing staff will come in and just, assist them into the washroom or whatever it is that they need to access. So across from Parkview, there's 2 washroom stalls, and then across from Hampton, there's 2 washroom stalls. And then in Ivy, there's men's and women's washrooms. So there's lots of access to washrooms and lots of support for those needs. We have a policy that our nursing staff have to administer all the medications. So we don't like clients keeping medication in their pocket because we don't know if it's yesterday's or tomorrow's or if it's going to be shared around the table at lunch. So we like to keep control over that. Yeah, and I think it's just important to know that staff are continually assessing clients' needs. And they're going to see these slight changes as they're happening, and they're going to adjust the level of care that they're going to provide. Whether they're just here for the day or here for their respite stay, just rest assured that the staff are here and they're able to support whatever those needs are. We do use mechanical lifts. So we have what we call a sit-stand lift, and that's for clients who are able to bear part of their weight. And then those who are not able to stand at all, we do have the full mechanical lifts in both the spa, the tub room, and where our hospital bed is. So we can assist with all levels of care that way. We're doing okay? Any questions so far? Yeah, okay. Okay, so here's our spa. So if you haven't seen the spa yet, it was completely renovated maybe 3 years ago now, and redesigned with lots of dementia-specific considerations in mind. So I'm not going to go over all of that right now because we could be here all day. But this is our tub room. So we have clients who are scheduled to come for the day may also have a scheduled bath day. So again, I'll use Tara. If Tara comes every Wednesday and her family has signed her up for bath, she'll get a bath every Wednesday. So the flow of that is clients are scheduled for a time in the day just based on kind of nursing routines. So clients will be engaged in programming. And then when it's their bath time, the staff again will just discreetly invite them into the spa and then help them with the spa. The nursing staff stay with them the whole time in the spa. And then when they're all finished and their hair's done and everything's great, then the nursing staff just escort them back to the program area and they just kind of pick up where they left off. So again, it's all of our same staff that are providing all of the care and all of the support. So these are staff that are quite familiar with individual needs and, some of the coaxing that may be required. So it's not different staff that wouldn't be familiar with them. It's the same staff that are doing busing and helping with lunch and have really developed relationships with these clients that make most bathing experiences pretty successful. So that is the spa. That's our nice tub there, and you can see the mechanical lift in here too. So all clients will enter the bath using this chair lift if they're able to weight bear. Otherwise, they would be in a sling and assisted into the bath on the sling. So no climbing into the tub here. Okay, so let's just imagine we've had all of our programming all morning. We always have lunch right at 12 o'clock, and then we just continue into programming in the afternoon. So it's just kind of like wall-to-wall programming. It's kind of nonstop. And that's kind of one of the big differences from long-term care. So we have programming, we have lunch, we have more programming, and then as 3 o'clock starts to approach, we'll prepare for the transition process. So about 50 of our clients will be leaving around 3 o'clock. Again, 8 buses, maybe 15 families here for pickup. So we like the recreation staff to try to continue programming throughout that. And again, we have all of these people who are discreetly pulling people from their program rooms and escorting them through the coat room and then out to their assigned bus on the way out. So again, if it feels like what is taking so long, it's just this process that we have to get people out again safely, hopefully not forgetting their belongings. Yeah, and then we'll have, of course, 10 people that aren't leaving, 5 that will stay for extended hours, and 5 staying overnight. So we're going to talk about that transition. Okay, so let's imagine now that our day program day has ended. So it's probably about 3:30, and we have 10 people still here in the building. So like I said, 5 are staying extended hours. So that means they've been here all day and they're going to stay for supper with us and go home at 6:30. And then we have 5 other people. They've been here all day. They're going to stay for supper. They're going to stay overnight. So we transition these 10 folks into the Ivy room. And we use this space for the rest of the evening. So in the evening, everyone will have their dinner here in the Ivy room and the programming. So I always say recreation is like professional furniture movers. They're constantly changing things around just depending on, programs and what's happening. So it's quite a big space, so we can do a lot with it. So this is Ivy. And just to know, we do have one recreation staff that works 12:30 to 8:30. So the programming again is continuous. We always have supper at 5 o'clock and then programming continues after. The programming just adapts to the client needs because I'm sure you can imagine if you were up bright and early and in programming for multiple hours, you're going to start to get pretty tired and maybe don't want to engage in the same way. So again, the recreation staff are experienced and very professional and just modify the programming to meet the needs of the clients, whatever day, time, room they're in. Okay, so the big difference for our extended hours is that we're no longer in separate program rooms. So we may have clients of different abilities, cognitive, physical, and otherwise, all together. So this is one of the, I guess, kind of common feedback items that we get from some people who are typically in Ivy, that it's very different to be in a big group program altogether. But it's just the way we are with our staffing ratios at that time. And often on weekends, we're using Ivy as well, with those 15 to 20 clients together. We can break up and use Ivy and Hampton. It just depends on the numbers. Okay, so now where are people sleeping? How is this happening? So all of our program rooms are multi-purpose. So this is actually the Hampton room. Once all of our clients have left, the furniture is pushed aside. There's a deep clean that happens. There's a movable wall that locks into place. And then on the left side, this cabinet here is actually a Murphy bed. So it folds down from the wall, and now we have a bedroom. So Parkview becomes 2 individual bedrooms, and Hampton room becomes 2 individual bedrooms. So you can imagine this is quite a big space. You know, for some people, you've got a fridge, a stove, you know, a sink in your room. This feels a little weird, but this is how we make respite happen in our spaces. Just know the stove is on a breaker. It's turned off, so nobody's going to be able to turn on the stove or the steam tables in the middle of the night. So, so there's quite a process that happens again. Like if we could, you know, have that aerial view and see all these, you know, minions moving around, moving furniture and cleaning. So this is what that Murphy bed looks like, pulled down from the wall in the program room. And then with consent, video monitors are set up, and this allows for increased safety and monitoring of clients through the night, which we'll talk a bit about. So 4 of our, I'll just go back, 4 of our beds are these Murphy beds. And then our 5th bed, this is Arlene, our full-time day nurse. So during the daytime, it's this medication room, nursing office overlooking the atrium. And then in the evening, the med card and all of that extra stuff is rolled out, and it becomes our 5th bed. And this is our only hospital bed. So this is actually an old picture because the bed we have now does not have bed rails because that is not allowed, but they're adjustable. And this is definitely a bed that's in high demand with client needs, and it's much better for staff, for body mechanics too. Okay. So, so just want to stress that when clients stay for overnight respite, everything that they're experiencing is within our day program space. So all of our meals are here, like, you know, now the bedrooms are here, the support is by our day program staff. So at no point are they going into the long-term care side. So it's right here in the day program. So breakfast is at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that just means that with these multi-purpose spaces, so they're program rooms during the day and then a bedroom overnight, it means clients have to get up pretty early in the morning for staff to assist them with their care, and then transition the rooms back to a program room and help everybody for breakfast. So it does mean early mornings for clients, which is sometimes a little bit tricky, but they'll have breakfast together at 8 o'clock, and then they'll be transitioned to that most suitable program room as all of the other clients start to arrive at 9:30. And then it's like day program as usual. And again, that transition at 3:30 happens to extended hours, to supper, to overnight, and kind of on repeat there. A lot of clients really miss having a bedroom. So after they're up in the morning and their care, whatever level of care they require is provided. The bed's tucked back into the wall and there's no evidence of a bedroom. Some clients really miss having their own place to go to, a bed to lay down in. So we just encourage them to have a rest in a recliner chair if they need that sort of mid-afternoon rest or whatever time it is. Yeah, so that's quite different again than staying respite in long-term care. It's not like they have their own room where they would be staying in. So they're always in this social environment. Maybe just reassuring to know that after hours, there's always either a social worker or a manager on call. So if there's any kind of question or emergency that's happening, there's always someone that the staff can reach out to. And then just kind of good FYI that there's a lot of processes that the staff follow. So every time someone comes for respite, they actually open the suitcase and they inventory all of these things that the client brought. They take a photo of it just in case the fuzzy robe goes missing. They know what fuzzy robe they're looking for. The staff review all the paperwork that comes in from the family to try to provide, the routines and support that the client is used to or that they need. The luggage gets stored in certain places. Like there's lots of all of those layers that happen. Yeah, so there's a lot. And then we just met with our client and care partner council this morning to talk about a new respite recap note that will be unveiling soon. So it'll be a bit of a summary about how the client's respite stay went, from how they socialized, how they ate, responded to care, all of that kind of stuff, just because everybody always wants to know, how was their stay? And it can be difficult to really get that summary from staff. So something new that we're going to try to provide a little bit more information. So, okay, so I'm almost done. So I'm sure you can tell, like, it's really, really hard to really articulate what does your person do in a day. And I hope this helps, depending on what room they're in and all of these other factors, give you a few hints. But we really stress, try not to quiz your person about what they did. So rather than saying, like, what did you do today? You could say, like, did you have a good day? Or, was it nice to see your friends, or things like that. Rather than quizzing about what they ate, you could check the menu online, or you could ask us to send a menu home and say, oh, I see that today was wieners and beans. Like, how was that? Or something like that. Again, we just want to remind you that the programming is continuous. It's modified depending on the abilities in the room and all of those sorts of things. So it's really impossible for us to provide a calendar of the daily activities, because there's a few plans, but there's like 10 different spontaneous things that happen in between. But we just want to reassure you that there's always something happening. Yes, they're engaged. Yes, they eat. Yes, they'll be supported in the washroom, which seemed to be, feedback. Like, I didn't eat anything and they just shoved me in the basement. We don't have a basement. So just really stressing that the atmosphere and the relationships that clients experience while they're here, whether it's staff to staff, like staff to clients, client to client, those are the things that really matter and feel like they have the most meaning. And it's not always specifically that they were engaged in a particular program that was, like totally amazing for them. It's typically like how they feel while they're here. They feel welcome and safe and happy and all of those sorts of things. Yes, we do want to provide programs that are interesting and stimulating and meet their needs. And we will be doing that. But it's not super important specifically what those things were. So yeah, and then again in the council meeting this morning, some feedback in that weekly e-newsletter that we send. Maybe if we could just send a few highlights, like this week at the club, we had the alpacas and this music and that, just to give, again, a bit of a, a talking point, um, to help fill in some of those blanks. But I'm sure, as you can see, like depending on the room and all of that, like your person may not be in that theme on that day. So it can be tricky. And then just to mention, if you really are curious, how was their day? What do they do in a day? You do have, every person has a recreation specialist assigned to them. So they can give you a bit of a summary. They're not going to give you a daily summary. But if you want to check in every now and then and just see, how are things going? Same with nursing and social work. Like you have people that can help, um, you know, fill in the blanks about how things are going, if you ever have any questions. So we're not too busy that we can't help out with that. But in general, what happens at the club stays at the club. So don't ask. No, I'm just kidding. So that's a lot, right?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
lots. Good job, Becky.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of information.
Hmm.
But it's great, and great to see the pictures of, gives an idea of what people do and that they're all enjoying themselves as well. So okay, so we do have several questions. So we'll just start at the top. So the first question, do clients sign up for 1 day a week or do they go 5 days a week?
Yeah. So clients, when they finally get to the top of our wait list, they are offered 1 day a week, and that becomes their regularly scheduled day until there's a need for them to have to change a day for whatever reason. And then most people want more than 1 day, so they'll go on a wait list to eventually get a second day. But right now, everybody is maxed out. We don't register for people more than 2 days a week, just to try to manage our capacity. Yeah.
Right. Is there an interpreter for Spanish speaking clients?
Oh, I've thought about this question earlier. This is such a common concern that some clients and caregivers have, is that my person doesn't speak English fluently. How will they be able to engage in the program? So a lot of our clients, even if English is their first language, may have a communication impairment. So the staff are always talking with their hands, but doing a lot of gesturing, nonverbal communication, a lot of demonstrating, so that we don't all have to understand verbal communication to be able to engage. So no, we don't have interpreters. We do have a very diverse staff team, particularly our nursing staff. We have nursing staff that speak different languages, which is definitely an asset, but we don't provide interpreters. We do have access to some resources, like something called Daily Chronicles, which is like a little newspaper. We can have that in English, French, or Spanish. Wherever possible, we'll try to pair clients that have similar cultural backgrounds or interests together socially, so that they can support one another and feel that, a place where they belong. And sometimes that works well for them to help communicate for one another. But sometimes it doesn't work well because, like it just like maybe Tara and I actually wouldn't jive, but we speak the same language. It doesn't mean that, we'd be a great slam dunk social fit too. So we always assure people that there are ways around some of the communication barriers.
Okay, next question. My person is attending the social at the Alzheimer's Society and is on the wait list for McCormick. Could they try it out for a day before committing to the program?
Do you want to answer that, Tara?
I can answer that one. Yeah, so this is quite common. So the process, because our waitlist for the day program is so long, what the flow is that people, while they're on the waitlist for McCormick, can attend the social at the Alzheimer's Society. However, they're not allowed to attend both programs at the same time. So once the person's name comes up for the day program at McCormick, we would reach out to you. And then at that point, you would need to transition the person from the social to the day program. So that's the ideal flow. But people often are a little hesitant to do this because they've made friends, they've settled in at the social, they're not always wanting to come. So yes, we'll do a trial. So everyone, whether they go to the social or not, when they come for the first day, it's just for a couple of hours. So they'll come and they'll try the program for a couple of hours. Social work will meet with the family, we'll get all of their information, complete paperwork, get them all registered. So we would do that. And then we can have them come for one full day as well to try it out. And then at that point you can make a decision. But we do strongly encourage you to make the move at that point because the wait list is so long. And so if you do decline the spot at McCormick and you go off the wait list and then you have to reapply, you might be waiting another year and a half to get back in again. So. All right. What if someone needs a nap during the day?
Yeah, so we do have, I don't know, maybe like 30 or something recliners and all throughout the different program rooms. So Ivy, Parkview, and Hampton all have recliners plus the atrium. So we'll try to help people get comfortable in those spaces. Again, if their program room is too loud, too stimulating, they could go out to the atrium and have a little rest. If someone really needs to lay down in a bed because of skin integrity, pain, those sorts of things, they can use that hospital bed in Willow, but it is someone's overnight room. So it's like we fully change the sheets and deep clean and all of that, but it is a space there. It's also our isolation room if anyone becomes unwell. So that's a spot where we would take people in and kind of quarantine them until they're picked up. I have this stack of blankets behind me. It's not because I nap in here, but these were client made blankets, but that's kind of what we have around the program area too for them to rest with.
Are extended hours available to everyone, and how does one access extended hours?
Do you want to answer that too, Tara?
I can take that one too.
Sure.
Yeah, so extended hours are available to anyone. So we only have 5 spots a day though. So usually those are full. However, I think in the newsletter that went out today, the weekly newsletter, there are a few extended spots available. I don't know off the top of my head what day of the week those are available. So you can contact Natalie, our admin assistant, and find out if there is a spot available on the day that your person comes. And if there is, she can help you get them registered for that.
Yeah, and it is 7 days a week. So when I was presenting the information, day and extended and respite is happening 7 days. And I really emphasize kind of the Monday, Friday flow. Saturday, Sunday is kind of a more relaxed but similar type programming, and just depends again the clients.
And I will point out for the extended hours, there is no busing available to go home at 6:30. So if your person stays for extended hours, family has to be able to come and pick them up at 6:30. So that's sometimes limits who can access that. All right, so next question. If there is an emergency and the caregiver has to be hospitalized, do you make accommodations for this? Example, overnight, etc.
We don't have capacity to take emergency situations, unfortunately. We have had this happen many times. We really never have an open bed. Pre-COVID, we would have a cot that we would roll in and we would get permission for people to share a room. For many reasons, this is not ideal. So we can't accommodate emergencies.
Okay, is there respite in long-term care as well, or is the only respite through the day program in London? So I can take this one as well if you want. So
Yeah.
yes, there is respite available in some long-term care facilities. However, I believe that since COVID, I believe McCormick Home is the only long-term care facility in London that has reopened their overnight respite beds. So yeah, and you access those through home and community care. Now, there are some long-term care facilities, I think, just in some of the small towns outside of London that also have overnight respite beds. So we have had some people access some of those ones. But yeah, all of those are accessed through your care coordinator at Home and Community Care. So you can contact them to fill out the appropriate application, and then they can check availability. But I think that they get booked up quite quickly as well for those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe important to know, like, the maximum duration of our overnight respite is 7 nights. So anyone who's needing a longer break or, whatever it is, then we're not usually the solution for that, unfortunately.
Someone's asking if they can have a copy of the materials presented today so that they can have them translated into Spanish for their family.
You sure can.
Sure, we can find a way to get those to you. And then just a thank you for providing all this information. This person's dad is currently on the wait list for the day program, been on for about a year now. Any idea of how long the wait list is? Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question. Right now it's sitting approximately, I'd say 15 to 18 months from time of referral. So if they've been on a year, then we'll be getting there. But you should have a social worker as your main contact person, so you can always reach out to that person. And if you don't know who your social worker is, because it's been a year, Natalie, if you just call in, Natalie can tell you who it is, and we can give you a bit more of a specific idea of where they are on the wait list. What is the cost for respite?
Yeah, so the cost is incredibly reasonable. So we have to tally it all up. So you pay for the day, you pay for extended hours, you pay an overnight fee, and then you pay the next day's fee because you're here one day overnight and staying, going home the next day. So it tallies $61 per night, I believe.
And you can do the options for the overnight respite are a 3-night stay. So the person would check in on Monday and go home on Thursday, or a 4-night stay. They'd check in on Thursday and go home on Monday. Or we have one person a week that can stay for 7 days, and that's the maximum stay.
And we do have all of this on our Care Partners Corner website. I'm just going to quickly grab the link and put it in the chat here. Is there chat? Yeah. Okay, so there's a link in the chat to our Care Partner Corner website, and that'll give you some information about respite, even like what to pack, the costs, and even a typical day at the day program kind of information. And all of our webinar recordings are there too.
And to book overnight respite, you do that through Natalie. So Natalie has the schedule for the overnight respite. We book 2 months in advance. And the first time your person comes for a respite stay, we invite them to come for 1 night so that they get to try it out for a night. And we see how they do. And then if it goes well, then they can come for the 3, 4, or 7-night stay after that. So yeah, if you have questions, you can reach out to Natalie or your social worker and we can help you with that. And I think that's all the questions we have right now. So unless anyone else has anything they'd like to put in the Q&A at the last minute here. Otherwise, thank you, Becky. Lots and lots of information.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. It's a big secret. I know. I wish we had, a quick and easy way that we could share more photos. We've looked at different apps and family portals to be able to quickly share, like just a little snippet from the day, and we haven't landed on something that's really sustainable for us. So anytime we have to add more, like people have thought about, like, could I just have a daily, like, quick checklist? Like I said, our staff are constantly in programming and support. So pulling them away to do a checklist for 50 people is pretty compromising for the whole flow. But anyway, we're still trying to find ways. So I think this is hopefully helpful to get a bit of insight.
Great. Oh, let's see what else is coming in here. Just lots of thank you for the information, and people learned a lot. So wonderful. And if anyone has any questions that you think of after, please reach out to us. We're happy to answer them. All right. Thank you all for coming, and have a great afternoon, everybody.